Now the town hall presidential debate from 2000 between then Texas Governor George Bush and Vice President Al Gore. Jim Lehrer of PBS is the moderator of this 90-minute debate from Washington University in St. Louis.
Good evening from the field house at Washington University in St. Louis. I'm Jim Lehrer of the NewsHour on PBS. And I welcome you to this third and final Campaign 2000 debate between the Democratic candidate for president, Vice President Al Gore, and the Republican candidate, Governor George W. Bush of Texas. Let's welcome the candidates now.
Hey, Jim. How you doing?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How you doing?
Nice to see you. Governor, welcome. Nice to be back. Nice to see you.
Howdy. How are you all?
Before proceeding tonight, we would like to observe a moment of silence in memory of Governor Mel Carnahan of Missouri, who, along with his son and his former chief of staff, died in a private plane crash last night near St. Louis. A reminder, as we continue now, that these debates are sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The formats and the rules were worked out by the Commission and the two campaigns. Tonight's questions will be asked by St. Louis area voters who were identified as being uncommitted by the Gallup organization. Earlier today, each of them wrote a question on a small card like this. Those cards were collected and then given to me this afternoon. My job, under the rules of the evening, was to decide the order the questions will be asked and to call on the questioners accordingly. I also had the option of asking follow-ups, which, in order to get to more of the panel's questions, for the record, I plan to do sparingly and mostly for clarifications. The audience participants are bound by the following rule. They shall not ask follow-up questions or otherwise participate in the extended discussion, and the questioner's microphone will be turned off after he or she completes asking the question. Those are the rules. As in Winston-Salem last week, no single answer or response from a candidate can exceed 2 minutes. There is an audience here in the hall, and they have promised to remain absolutely quiet, as did their predecessors this year in Boston, Danville, and Winston-Salem. Before we begin, a correction from last week's debate. I was wrong when I said Vice President Gore's campaign commercials had called Governor Bush a bumbler. That specific charge was made in a press statement by Gore campaign spokesman Mark Fabiani, not in a TV guide.
I'm glad you clarified that.
In a TV ad. Now, let's go to the first question. Of over the 130 questions we received from this panel, we will begin with one of the 19 on health issues, and it goes to you, Mr. Vice President, and it will be asked by James Hankins. Mr. Hankins?
How do you feel about HMOs and insurance companies making the critical decisions that affect people's lives instead of the medical professionals? And why are the HMOs and insurance companies not held accountable for their decisions?
Mr. Hankins, I don't feel good about it, and I think we ought to have a patient's bill of rights to take the medical decisions away from the HMOs and give them back to the doctors and the nurses. I want to come back and tell you why, but if you will forgive me, I would like to say something right now at the beginning of this debate, following on the moment of silence for Mel Carnahan and Randy Carnahan and Chris Sifford. Tipper and I were good friends with Mel and Randy, and I know that all of us here want to extend our sympathy and condolences to Jean and the family and to the Sifford family. And I'd just like to say that this debate, in a way, is a living tribute to Mel Carnahan, because he loved the vigorous discussion of ideas in our democracy. He was a fantastic governor of Missouri. This state became one of the top 5 in the nation for health care coverage for children under his leadership, one of the best in advancing all kinds of benefits for children to grow up healthy and strong. And of course, this debate also takes place at a time when the tragedy of the USS Cole is on our minds and hearts. And insofar as the memorial services tomorrow, I would like to also extend sympathy to the families of those who have died and those who are still missing, and the injured. Now, Mr. Hankins, I think that the situation that you describe has gotten completely out of hand. Doctors are giving prescriptions, they're recommending treatments, and then their recommendations are being overruled by HMOs and insurance companies. That is unacceptable. I support a strong national patients' Bill of Rights. It is actually a disagreement between us. The national law that is pending on this, the Dingell-Norwood bill, a bipartisan bill, is one that I support and that the governor does not.
2 minutes response, Governor Bush.
I too want to extend my prayers to the and blessings, God's blessings on the families whose lives were overturned last night. It was a tragic moment. Actually, Mr. Vice President, it's not true. I do support a National Patients' Bill of Rights. As a matter of fact, I brought Republicans and Democrats together to do just that in the state of Texas, to get a Patients' Bill of Rights through. It requires a different kind of leadership style to do it, though. You see, in order to get something done on behalf of the people, you have to put partisanship aside. And that's what we did in my state. We've got one of the most advanced Patients' Bill of Rights. It says, for example, that a woman doesn't have to go through a gatekeeper to go to her gynecologist. It says that you can't gag a doctor. A doctor can advise you. The HMO, the insurance company, can't gag that doctor from giving you full advice. In this particular bill, it allows patients to choose a doctor, their own doctor if they want to. But we did something else that was interesting. We're one of the first states that said you can sue an HMO for denying you proper coverage. Now, there's what's called an independent review organization that you have to go through first. It says if you got a complaint with your insurance company, you can take your complaint to an objective body. If the objective body rules on your behalf, the insurance company must follow those rules. However, if the insurance company doesn't follow the findings of the IRO, then that becomes a cause of action in a court of law. It's time for our nation to come together and do what's right for the people. And I think this is right for the people. You know, I support a national Patients' Bill of Rights, Mr. Vice President. And I want all people covered. I don't want the law to supersede good law like we got in Texas.
Governor,
I think
time is up, sir.
Jim, we
Yes,
have
sir.
a direct disagreement on this.
Just a minute, Mr. Vice President. I wanted to, you know, the way the rules go here now, 2 minutes, and then I'll decide whether we go on, okay?
Right.
So what I want to make sure is we understand here is before we go on to another question in the health area, would you agree that you two agree on a National Patients' Bill of Rights?
Absolutely, absolutely not. I referred to the Dingell-Norwood bill.